You may recognize our next guest as the culture expert and life coach on the Emmy-winning series Queer Eye. Please welcome from our Los Angeles studio, Karamo Brown.
Hi, Drew.
Oh my God!
This is so exciting. How are you?
Oh my gosh, Karamo, I'm so excited. You know, you are the very first person that is actually walking through our yellow doors from Los Angeles.
I know, I feel honored. I feel like in a couple of years, I'm gonna have like some trivia question, and this will be one of them. So I'm honored.
I have had the greatest pleasure just doing a deep dive into you and your life, and I've been reading your book, and reading your story about your family has been such a telling thing about you as a person, because when we have sort of an unorthodox path in our families, like society says, you get married, you have 2.5 children, you do this, you do that, you do that. That is not everybody's exact path. And I know that I would have loved to have been married with my 2 children and with their dad forever, and things didn't go that way, but I am so close with his family, and we're healthy and we're thriving. And when I read your journey of you and your family, I'm so in awe of the honor and grace and the behavior and the attitudes and the choices that you made. Can you talk to me about that? Because you just seem like the best person.
Well, I appreciate you saying that, but sometimes we get these narratives in our minds that people tell us of how we're supposed to be, how we're supposed to look, and how our families are supposed to function. And the actuality of it all is that it doesn't have to be that way. We can define our families, we can define who we are, and love our families and love who we are just as we want. And I didn't have a traditional family. You know, the way that I became a father, as you know from reading my book, is I found out about my son when he was 10 years old. It was the only girl I ever dated and had sexual relations with, not to get too deep, but you know, I lost my virginity, and then all of a sudden, 10 years later, here's this kid. And it was a decision at that moment to say, do I step up and try to do what's best for this child and heal the generational wounds, or do I try to go with what society tells me a family's supposed to look like?
I'm having a little bit of an aha moment right now, because I realize in that moment when things, you know, weren't exactly as we think they're supposed to be in society, there's a tendency to run away from it or to find the fault within. And I feel like what you and I are sort of promoting is hook in to that family and choose to be together, choose to stay together, despite that it doesn't match this perfect, like, societal, you know, cookie cutter sort of thing. And reading about the way that you are with your family, I was so inspired reading about that.
Thank you. I just want to say, can we go back and say, preach, Drew? When you said hook in, that is the mantra that everyone needs to take away right now. Hook into those moments where you feel uncomfortable. Hook into those moments where you feel like this is the moment for me to retreat or to build a wall. Instead of fleeing, hook yourself in, because when you hook yourself in and you connect, that's where you find the strength. That's where you find the ability to do what's right for yourself, but also for your kid. And that's what the true intention is. This hook in, this connection, what is this about? What are we doing with this? It's to make sure that this little guy right here can turn into a really super sweet, happy, healthy, big guy. And so we got to do everything together. And so that's the mantra that might be the next book, Hook In. You might just give me the title, Hook In.
Well, I wonder if maybe that's what, in a way, is why maybe we are hook in type of people, is because we saw the alternative.
Part of this understanding that the challenges we had in our families and the things that have led us to be these hook-in people is that you have to understand that every time you have a challenge, it's like a slingshot. It's pulling you back, and you can start feeling weighted down by it. You start feeling down. You start feeling like, why is this the family I have? Why is this situation happening like this? And it's just continuing to pulling you back. And what I've learned is that each one of those pullbacks are lessons. And when you get to that place where you can let go, and just say, you know what? I got the lessons. I'm ready to hook in. I'm ready to be present. You then let go and you soar to greatness.
I'm just so grateful that there is a life coach and someone who is there to help and guide people with your wisdom and perspective and practice. So
Thank you.
we're gonna go to a quick commercial, and then when we come back, we are gonna talk about something that even Beyonce is a fan of, and anything Beyonce says and does, I wanna listen.